Welcome back to Beatmap Batrep episode 7. This is Menoth vs. Khador, round 2 of Warmachine. We want to jump right into Menoth turn 2. Now everybody's positioned, it's time to do a lot of damage. First off, he allocates 3 of his focus to his light warjack, and then he moves up his choir and he buffs all of his jacks with, I believe it is, +2 to hit and +2 damage as well. So that way they can hit easier and hit harder, which of course combined with his Warcaster's +1 to everything works really well. So now the firing begins, and it was a little shy, so it's going to deviate, but it actually worked out to his advantage. It deviated and hit 3 of the Man of Wars. This lights them on fire and does some damage to them as well. So I believe he does a couple damage to 2 of them and lights all 3 of them on fire, as we're going to see right here. I believe it's dice -2 for damage against their armor. And so you can see that all 3 of them were lit on fire, and a couple of the shock troopers were damaged. Not too heavily, but the fire might come into effect later on. The other light warjack is just going to open fire. He's got a nice long 16-inch range weapon, and he's dealing damage to the Berserker with his direct hit, and then it splash damages against the Man of War beside him, but does not damage him. He uses an extra focus, or he uses a focus to make an extra attack, because he does have a rate of fire of 3, I believe. That's more damage on the Berserker, and does splash damage, but fails to hurt the Man of War beside him. Does the same thing again, gets another direct hit, does a lot of damage this time to the Berserker, disabling his Cortex so he cannot get allocated focus, which is something I probably would do anyways because he goes unstable and blows up when he gets focus, but still it'd be nice to have the opportunity to do that. And the Vassal there, I believe, casts light. It was something basically that allows him to move as soon as he gets hit the first time, or takes damage the first time. So now he's moving up all his Zealots to grab the objective and to fire all of their fire bombs. And so these are a bunch of 3-inch AoEs, and so he's going to move up and just open fire into my Iron Fang Pikeman. I get to countercharge because he moved within 6 inches of my Man of War Dracoon. So he countercharges. Now they use their little mini feat, which allows him to go invincible for 1 turn, so I can't hurt them, but I wanted to at least stop a few of them from firing, and maybe even knock one down, which I was not able to do. So now he blasts, and he hits all 6 of them, and now he has to roll pretty high to get him. I believe he needed 11, but he still managed to roll enough to kill a couple of them, and so that's a big deal. And there's only a few of them there, and that was only the first firebomb. There's still like another 10 to go. So he just starts firing a lot and kills even more guys. They're all under shield wall, at least they started off under shield wall, and so they do have a higher armor, but when you get that many blasts into that tightly packed group, there's just so many hits that even though he needs 10s and 11s to kill them, you roll that many times and you're going to get a few. And so that killed the leader there. Of course, another guy will take his place as the leader. And now they're just doing melee attacks, and he actually manages to roll nice and high. It was dice -1 damage. So he actually manages, or dice -10. And he managed to still get a damage in. So more fire bombs are going down. They automatically scatter because they're out of range, but he's getting lucky. In some cases they're scattering forward into my guys, sometimes they're scattering back, but it doesn't go far enough to hit his own guys. So he's able to soften up that group quite well. And now his Redeemer is moving up to engage the Dracoon. He's not charging, of course, because he can't go in a direct line towards him, but he can still engage him as he does have reach. So he is going to hit him, which allows him to push him off when he hits him with his shield. So he deals a couple more damage to the Dracoon, and that is all. He doesn't actually use his shield because the shield does not have reach. And he pulls a focus for his Warcaster, and the rack does not get destroyed from that because he has to roll 3 or less. Now all the skirmishers, who do have a prey special rule, so they select a prey, which is these guys, in this case the Man of War, or the Iron Fang Pikemen, and they get +2 damage and +2 to hit against them. Plus he gets the +1 to hit and damage from the Warcaster for most of them, as long as they're within 16 inches, which in this case most of them ended up being, except for a couple on the end. So he's going to move up. Now I'm in shield wall, so it's going to be a little hard for him to hurt me, but it will not be hard for him to hit me. So he's just going to start hitting them. He gets a nice hit on the first one, and he combined with the 2 guys, so he only needed a 6 to kill, and he managed to do that. So we're just going to see a bunch of hitting here. This is what you get when you have a skirmish-based game like Warmachine, where every single unit does its own hitting, as opposed to 40k or Fantasy, where they all hit as a group against a group. This is actually individual actions against individuals, so it takes a little longer to play, but there is a lot more tactics to positioning. So it's more suited for smaller scale games like what you see here. rather than large-scale games like what you see with 40k and with Fantasy. So he continues to try to hit. I think he manages to kill a couple guys. So he does soften up the ranks there, but doesn't do any huge amount of damage. Although every Iron Fang pikeman that goes down, of course, is one less guy that hits back and to kill his guys. So that's all he does in his turn, which is not insignificant. He manages to kill a bunch of Iron Fang pikemen and damage a few Man of Wars and even my Berserker. Vlad's going to allocate 3 focus to the Khador. Now we got to check to see if these guys stay on fire. If you roll a 1 or a 2, the fire goes away. Otherwise, they get hit with a power 12 attack. So 2 of them get lucky, they roll 1s, and the last one does not go away, so he continues to burn. But we do not roll high enough to damage him. So he's still on fire, but he's not damaged yet. I declare a charge, which fails, unfortunately. So all the other Man of Wars now have to charge, so they won't be able to go into shield wall formation, which, as you're going to see, is going to be a big difference, because that goes from being, instead of armor 21, they'll only have their armor of 17. Which, when you're facing against these Menoth Warjacks, it's a big difference. So they're all just going to move up and engage as best as they can, and then the Demolition Corps are just going to move up as well. They're running because there's no shield wall for them, so they might as well just move as far as they can. And they only have a 4 speed, so they can't move very far. Now these guys, the Zealots, are still invincible, so I'm not going to charge. I'm just moving up and keeping shield wall. But my guys have critical knockdown, so they're going to see if they can knock any guys down. And at the very least, they'll engage them so they can't keep firing those stupid fire bombs, which obviously are very effective. So I need to roll doubles in order to knock a guy down. So far, I haven't really had any luck. And then finally, I get doubles, and the guy gets knocked down. So I think I managed to only knock down the 1 out of all of these attacks. So I have to sit back and take all the hits again, and then finally be able to dish out some damage. Vlad activates next. He casts Signs of Importance, which gives him all an extra die, removing the lowest die. And he also uses his feat, which doubles the speed of my Warjacks and allows them to charge and run without using focus. So the Berserker charges to engage his heavy Warjack, which, as soon as I damage him, he gets to move away. So unfortunately, he won't get to use his 2 attacks, followed up by his chain attack. So I just got to make sure I do as much damage as I can in this first one, which unfortunately I don't roll that well, and only manage to damage him a bit. It might look like a lot, but when I don't get to do 2 more attacks that I normally would get, that's a big difference. So that his spells really protect his Warjacks quite well. The Khador is charging his other heavy Warjack, which has a spell on it right now that the first time he would take damage, he does not. So I hit him the first time, which removes that damage. So now I get to hit him again with my second attack and actually try to do damage. And so and that was the charge attack that was negated, so that's a big deal. So he's going to start doing damage, and he's going to use all his extra focus for more attacks. I actually forgot his chain attack, the smash and grab, which allows me to pick him up and throw him after I hit him twice. But in this case, I'm not sure if I would have done that, because I'd rather just use the focus to get 3 more attacks and do as much damage as I can, rather than throwing him and doing light damage, and then just having him stand up and charge right back in. So I'm just going to use the focus for more attacks, and see how much more damage you can see. I'm still rolling pretty crappy there. I think that was 1 damage. And then the last one, I hit him, and I managed to do moderate damage to him as well. So I believe I disabled both his left and right arm, which is not insignificant, although he's got such a high power that you're going to see he's going to be able to hit back pretty hard anyway, because I have such low defense. All my Iron Fang pikemen are getting into position, so they can now finally hit. And I start rolling my double 1s, which you'll see a few of in this game, unfortunately. And they're just going to go through and see how many of these guys they can kill. Now, I made a mistake here. I should have really focused on the ones that were on the objective so I could grab that point for myself. But we'll just see what happens anyway. And so there's another tactical error on my end right there. So I'm going through and I'm just attacking and killing as many as I can. It's not too hard to kill them. It is a little hard to hit them. I believe their defense is 15 right now with the buff. They have a spell on them from the Warcaster, which gives them +3 defense and +3 armor. And that's an upkeep spell as well, which makes them quite powerful. So I'm going through and killing as many as I can. I actually managed to soften them up quite nicely, so this makes me quite confident with these guys that I'm going to be able to clean out this side. Because once I can clean these guys out, these pikemen can charge in and really help take out the caster. So if I can get through his flank. So I'm doing a mount attack against the guy who's still invincible, but I do get critical, which knocks him down. The mount has critical knockdown. And then I'm going to do attack on his light Warjack, his Redeemer. And I get a hit on him. And it's a charge attack. So actually, no, sorry, he's Weapon Master. That's where the extra die came from, plus the Signs of Importance. Only managed to damage him a bit, and then I get pushed back because of his shield. So that's the end of round 2. So I was able to do moderate damage to his flank, and no damage to his zealots because they're all immune, and a little bit of damage to a couple of his warjacks, and then some major damage to one of his heavy warjacks. So I'm hoping that that'll be enough damage to soften him up so that round 3 I'll be able to push my way through, which is what I really need to do. They don't have anything overly impressive that my guys can do. It's more that they just kind of slowly and surely push their way through the ranks. The current score is still now 1-1. The Berserker grabbed the objective in the middle there and didn't manage to take any of the other objectives. So the score is 1-1, and we're going to be entering round 3 to see how Menoth is going to react to all of this. You can see that they're getting hit on both flanks and in the middle with all those Man of Wars coming. So stay tuned for round 3 of Khador vs. Menoth.
Visit miniwargaming.com to see our videos 1 month early.